I'm Dane Rose, and for my 43rd birthday, I'd like to share the ruminations on the three most important things. So, number one, the universe, the multiverse, is really, really big. What we experience here and now in our culture is a speck of a speck of a speck of a speck of what's going on. There are literally billions of planets. There are billions of years in the time frame. And most of reality is happening either above or below the sensory limits of the 5 doorways we have into reality. The vast amount of what's going on this planet alone is way outside our ability to comprehend. The truth in this, if you believe in it, if it feels beautiful to you, if it has a certain poetic rhyme that makes sense to you, follow that course, knowing you may be alone here, but in other places, other cultures, other planets, other time periods, there have been 10,000 moments or 10,000 cultures and languages in Earth history alone. Who you are and what you're doing fits in beautifully. Number 2, loving and being loved is the single most important and significant human experience that there is. And this suggests a couple of threads by inference, by implication. Number 1, the biggest threat on the planet to loving and being loved is trauma. The biological regression to the fight, flight, freeze, sociopathic state developed in our reptilian stage of evolution. People in a sociopathic state, by definition, are self-centered, not because it is their nature, but because it is the nature of the traumatic state. Emotions, including states and the sociopathic state, are contagious. The greatest kindness we can do to one another, if we believe that our core nature is to love and be loving, is to help one another out of the sociopathic state, to return to the upper brains that are our nature when survival and scarcity is not on the line. Another inference. Whenever you have to choose between being normal to the culture and place that's going on here, or happy and follow your own path, whenever you have to advise someone to take the path of their joy and their happiness, or choose normalcy. Encourage them to take the former. We have enough miserable, normal people. And there's something in you. There is something unique and magical and very unusual about you. Let's see what the last thing is. When looking to the future, when looking for truth, look to beauty and goodness. I want to break it down. This ties in with a comment that in the history of humankind, the majority has never been correct. Correct being on a sliding scale, that which is moving us forward, that which is cutting edge. The cutting edge of where we're going, by definition, is always held by a minority. Be a minority in search of beauty and goodness. Because these vectors, beauty and goodness, point to truth, point to where we're going. I want to break this down. The need to be in control, the need to be equal, the need to have significance, and the need to belong, the need to matter to one another as social human beings is primary. These needs in an environment of scarcity or of high volatility, where the abundance that is erratically present is not sustained, lead us as human beings to often choose certain misery over volatile abundance, certain depression over a helplessly regulated state of joy. There are few things that bring up as much grief and despair in the human condition as having it all one moment and having it all taken away. And we protect ourselves from this volatility when we do not feel mastery by occupying a stable low point on the volatile spectrum. And this is particularly the case when we've grown up around people with power that we're envious of and preyed on our innocence or joy. Going down the emotional spectrum is a safety measure in a hostile environment. However, when there is abundance and when there is mastery, creating certainty around that abundance, the need for certainty no longer competes with the need for beauty, the need for joy, the need to love and be loved. And what is pursued is the most beautiful, the most loving, the most exquisite and complex pattern of reality that we are capable of imagining. Because this is the way back, and this is the way forward in our evolutionary journey. Meaning, if it is more beautiful, if it embodies more goodness, if it has that ring to it, beauty and goodness, the sweetness of that beauty, if it has the innocence of joy, it lies before us. And while all reality may be an illusion, it is less of an illusion than realities that are filled with misery and pain. Because the scarcity and the volatility that creates the experience of scarcity is not a function of reality. It is a function of our limited skill in relating to infinite amounts of energy that are all around us. And the evolutionary cycle of consciousness, with every dip into pain leading to an explosion of learning, and every dip into joy being an explosion of motivation. I want that. I don't want this. I want that. I don't want this. Evolution is inevitable. Evolution is inevitable. And maybe in this eon, maybe in another. Maybe on this planet, maybe on another. But there will be consciousness, sometime and somewhere, which enters a state of masterful beauty. And upon reaching that state, there's no incentive to go back. No one who can feel the bliss, the beauty, the goodness of a state beyond where we are wants to hurt someone, wants to go back. It is only in unstable and unsafe environments where we are attracted to the haven of depression, to the comfort of rage, to the anesthetic of self-pity and blame, because they provide stable reference points, because we are masters at self-pity, but not masters of sustainable joy. And because in the state of unresolved trauma, helplessness is an emotion we will do anything to avoid. And many of us feel helpless when the innocence of joy begins to blossom, only to be crushed within minutes, hours, days, because it doesn't survive in the cold air of hostility, fear, scarcity, and self-pity circling around us. And that's why the key to unlocking our humanity, our spirituality, is a commitment and a discipline to co-creating a reality that is as committed to healing trauma over there as it is in here, where we don't need walls and policing and militaries, because the awareness that you're in pain, that you're in trauma, is enough for me to respond and do everything I can to bring you out of that state. Now, this is an ideal world that we may never experience here, or it may take 50 or more years. But when we have that state, and we understand how and why, there's no going back. For the simple reason that it's more fun to give and to receive than to take and manipulate. It's more fun to laugh than to feel pain. It's more fun to care for another and participate in their healing than it is to hurt and humiliate them in a low point. It's more fun to honor than to betray. Once a certain threshold of sustainable abundance is created,